My name is Grace Lohr, and I am BC's Minister of State for Childcare. I'm also the MLA for Victoria Beacon Hill. Thank you for gathering with us. We are on the territory of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples of the Songhees and Esquimalt nations. And I truly thank you for spending part of your evening here. I'm really pleased to welcome Elder Marianne Thomas from the Esquimalt Nation, who will be offering a welcome.
You'll hear me? I'm short. Good afternoon, each individual. I am Selig from Squamish. My borrowed name is Marianne Thomas from Esquimalt Nation. I'm so honored to be here to welcome you to Songhees and Esquimalt Nation territory. And I just really want to thank the staff for the invite, for the lost and murdered. I lit one candle for my late husband, Chief Andy Thomas, the hereditary. My heart goes out to each and every one, thanking you for bringing us all together. Because this is really big. We're echoing just like the old people. Because they're the ones that are taking care of all our loved ones that didn't make it back. But I just really wanted to give thanks to the staff and what was the other one? Elected. Because, you know, tonight is a very precious night. I just wanted to share some words before I did the prayer. Titl siham salmen, sahil namet in esquile, na asamet nawa titl siham. You know, as lalamit smokswet, lalamit the slickle, lalamit the salelo, lalamit for the ones that are in jail, lalamit the ones that are in the hospital. Give everybody the strength to imish to not stomach. You know, as lalamit to moksquile, set to haikun for the shell, imish to na slow a tomach. Brothers and sisters, I've got a message from the Lord. Brothers and sisters, I've got a message from the Lord to love one another, to love one another. Brothers and sisters, I've got a message from the Lord to help one another, to help one another. Brothers and sisters, I've got a message from the Lord to forgive one another, to forgive one another. Oh, Haidga titel seamber de steel il. Talas en steelum de slachens de cholese de moklwet titel seam. Na not lead the squallowins the sali. Lalamet de mok squail titel seam. I just really want to thank each and every one for allowing me to say the prayer and welcome you to Songhees and Esquimalt Nation. Haichka.
Thank you so much, Marianne, for the prayer and the reflections and the welcome. I also want to acknowledge that we've been joined by some of the members of the Minister's Advisory Council for Indigenous Women and the Minister of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation. Thank you for being here and joining us. Today, we mark the National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women. We honor and remember the 14 women who were murdered at L'Ecole Polytechnique in Montreal on December 6, 1989. Murdered for being women. Women with a passion for science and engineering. For being women who dared to step out of traditional roles and who dared to succeed. 14 lives stolen. These murders took place 34 years ago, and yet misogyny, violence, and femicide against women and girls remains a reality in communities across our province and country. Today, we come together against this hate and violence. We come together for victims and survivors, and for all those who are working to end violence and to support those who have been affected. I'd like to invite Kelli Paddon, Parliamentary Secretary for Gender Equity, to say a few words.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kelli Paddon. I am BC's Parliamentary Secretary for Gender Equity. I am honored to be here on the territory of the Lekwungen peoples, the Songhees and Esquimalt nations. Thank you for all being here today to commemorate the women and girls across our province and Canada who have experienced gender-based violence. It has been 34 years since 14 women were murdered at L'Ecole Polytechnique because of their gender, but we know that that violence still continues today. According to the Canadian Femicide Observatory for Justice and Accountability, one woman or girl is killed every other day on average, somewhere in our country. For Indigenous women, the rates of femicide are 4 times higher. About once a week, a woman is killed by her partner in Canada. Every week, women are physically or sexually assaulted in British Columbia. This violence can be physical, emotional, or sexual in nature, and constitutes a serious human rights issue impacting many people in British Columbia. The safety and well-being of all people depends on all of us taking action to help end gender-based violence and make our province safer. It happens on our campuses, in our workplaces, in our communities, in our homes, within our families. We know there is much work to do. That's why we're working to make our province safer for everyone, especially those who are marginalized and disproportionately impacted by violence. We have been working on an action plan to end gender-based violence and ensure survivors of violence can access the care that they need. The plan will be released shortly, and over the coming months, we will continue working to put into action across the province. Our government condemns every single act of gender-based violence, and we are taking an intersectional approach to the prevention, protection, and to the healing. We're supporting survivors by investing in safe and supportive housing, crisis support services, victim services, and counseling for survivors. We're making post-secondary institutions safer for women by supporting initiatives that prevent and address sexualized violence and running sexualized violence awareness campaigns. We're also encouraging men and boys to be part of the solution in the effort to end violence against women and children. And we need support from all British Columbians as we work to end violence everywhere it occurs. Every person in our province is responsible for supporting and looking out for each other, for speaking up when we see something is wrong. We will continue doing this work in memory of the 14 women lost on December 6, 1989, and the thousands that we've lost since. Together, we can make the world into a safer place for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Parliamentary Secretary Paddon. We're incredibly lucky to have you leading this work across government. I'd like to invite Mayor Marianne Alto to say a few words.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you, Grace, for hosting us here and being able to provide a time and space for people to gather and reflect. Thank you, Kelli, for speaking about your government's commitments. And thank you, Marianne, for reminding us how blessed we are to be here and how much we have to thank your ancestors for being the stewards of these incredible lands and the waters that surround them. I'm here tonight invited because I happen to be the mayor of Victoria. But I've been at every one of these in Victoria since 1990. And tonight I'm not going to speak as the mayor. I'm going to stand here and speak to you for a little bit as the person who was the director of the Women's Center on that day in 1989, and as the mom of 2 boys. On December 6, 1989, I was pretty new in my job, and it was an amazing job because I got to tell people that my job was to be a feminist. People would laugh and say, "Yeah, I know that, what's your job?" And I'd say, "No, my job is to be a feminist." And at the moment, it was kind of funny. Until that day. Because on that day, all the issues that have been so pervasive for so many decades, if not centuries, became apparent to everyone in Canada. Not just those of us who had been working in the field, or those of us who had been fighting for equality rights for so many people, not just women, and those of us who were taking care of one another and trying to bring comfort to the women who had been battered and beaten and killed for generations. December 6, 1989 brought all of that home to everyone. And for a moment, that commitment was real. The commitment to change, the commitment to comfort, to protect, to change the laws, to change the expectations, to change our behavior. It all became real for just a moment. And sometimes for moments it continues, and there have been changes, but nowhere near enough. So all of us who continue to have any position in community leadership, all of the people who are here today, you all have a position of community leadership wherever you are. You have that opportunity to continue that change and to demand it. And for me, one of the most important vehicles for this is being a mom. My 2 boys have spent every moment of their lives being aware of issues like these. I talk with them all the time of being at the apex of the power structure and the hierarchy because they are healthy white men. And with that comes an obligation, a duty, a demand that they not only learn, but that they act. And on this day, when we remember and reflect, and that is so important, so we do not forget this day, we also commit to act. And as a parent, I am so proud of my boys because they believe that there is still hope. And every day, something good happens because of what they have tried to do. And I don't think I can ask for more than that, because that's my responsibility, to provide the opportunity and the learning, the demands and the expectation, the understanding that they're part of the solution, perhaps the biggest part of the solution. And I believe that that change will continue to happen because all of us have a chance to influence someone in our lives, whether it's our children, our partners, our friends, anyone with whom we have a relationship. The stories that we hear from people like Marianne about the history of their peoples in these lands are inspirational because they challenge us to create opportunities for other people to tell the stories that come from our actions. I challenge everyone here, as I do every year, make that change, make that effort, have that conversation, help someone be part of the change, so that one day when we gather on December 6th, it will be mostly to remember and to reflect on how different the world is. The white rose has always been associated with this day, as has the white ribbon. In both emblems, we hold peace, but it's not enough just to have the emblem. So again, do the work, reflect, change the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Alto. I'd like to now invite Erica Attard, who is the president of UVic's Women in STEM Student Society.
Hi, my name is Erica Attard, and I'm here to share my experience as a woman in engineering and highlight where we can support young women's education. Engineering and STEM were not common terms for me growing up. I was always good at math and science, but I never really knew what career I could pursue with those interests. Up until grade 12, I was planning to attend culinary school, until I met a third-year engineering student at a university fair who spoke about the opportunities engineering opened up for her. Seeing a woman pursue this degree inspired me, and in October of my grade 12 year, I decided to pursue engineering. However, I didn't have the right course requirements. I ended up taking 5 courses in my first semester at high school to catch up. When applying to universities, I chose chemical engineering because I liked chemistry and I didn't know anything about the other disciplines. After struggling in my last year to meet the course requirements, I only got into one school for engineering, and I chose to attend Toronto Metropolitan University. Upon starting university, I joined TMU's Formula Racing team, which designs and competes and builds a Formula One style race car. I didn't grow up working on cars, and I had never held a wrench before, so this was extremely outside of my comfort zone. However, after learning how to change tires and bleed brakes for a semester, I fell in love with learning something new every day, and I switched my degree to mechanical engineering. Mechanical engineering has one of the lowest female populations, with women making up only 16.2% of all mechanical engineering students in Canada as of 2020. Having no experience with cars and being 1 out of 3 women on the team resulted in me experiencing a lot of imposter syndrome. After working and studying very hard for 3 years, I became the first female team captain, leading a team of 50 to produce our first electric vehicle. This gave me an opportunity to recruit and mentor more women. In my last year, I also got an opportunity to work in research on a sustainable heating system. This sparked my interest in renewable energy and led me to Victoria to pursue a master's degree in civil engineering. I also took over the Women in Engineering, Science and Technology group at UVic, which focuses on providing female-identifying students with opportunities to grow their technical and soft skills. I am very grateful for the opportunities I have been given throughout my journey and the people who have supported me. I'd like to acknowledge that the 14 women we lost 34 years ago did not get to experience the same opportunities, and those of them who were studying did not get to finish their degrees. I've chosen to share my story today to highlight where we can support young women and how we can provide more information and opportunities to explore engineering at a young age. I'd like to let young students know that engineering is not a linear path, and many students take time to test out different disciplines and find their community. My hope is to bring awareness to the value that diversity in engineering brings and educate others to put an end to gender-based violence. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. I think it's incredibly important for us to hear about your journey and your success and mark where we've come and what was stolen from those 14 women. And we do gather to honor and remember these women. Genevieve Bergeron, Helen Calgan, Natalie Crotow, Barbara Derniau, Anne-Marie Edward, Maud Haven-Arnick, Mariz Laganière, Mariz Leclerc, Anne-Marie Lemay, Sonia Pelletier, Barbara Kluchnik Vodadevach, Michelle Richard, Annie Saint Arnaud, Annie Thurcott. The pain and memory of that day 34 years ago remains, as do the dangers of sexist attitudes, beliefs, and prejudice, which we know continue to have life-threatening and life-changing consequences. We continue to see the murder of women and the tie between gender-based violence and other forms of violence. In 2022, nearly 200 women and girls were killed by violence in Canada, the highest number ever recorded by the Canadian Femicide Observatory. In the last 5 years, 850 women have been killed in Canada. That's one every 48 hours. Please join together for 1 minute of silence to honor the 14 women murdered on this day in 1989 and for every single woman and person taken from us in between. We are here tonight together united and committed to ending gender-based violence everywhere it occurs, on our campuses, in our workplaces, and in our communities. We must all continue to support and look out for each other. Thank you, Marianne, for that reminder. And to speak up if we see or hear anyone being mistreated, discriminated against, attacked, or subjected to violence. We must continue to lend our voice and offer support to those who need it. Thank you to all of you for joining tonight, for taking the time to reflect and honor. Thank you, P.S. Paddon, Mayor Alto, Marianne, Erica. Thank you all for continuing this work together.